right now. Thank you, everyone, for joining us, to our panelists as well as our audience. Today's Cosmetic Chemist dish topic is going to be on diversity in beauty. And, as I was writing this title, I was just thinking to myself, I should really be expanding the conversation past cosmetic chemists. I'm being a big hypocrite by limiting it here. So stay tuned in future conversations. I'm going to be opening up the conversation. I hope you guys all agree with me doing this. If you don't, let me know. But opening it up so that it's the whole beauty science community, because there's obviously a lot more to contribute past just the cosmetic chemist perspective. So stay tuned. Also, if you have a topic suggestion for next week for that, then leave it in the webinar chat text channel. But I'll stop talking and let our panelists introduce themselves. And Eunice, would you like to go first?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Hi, I'm Eunice Kofielbang. I'm the founder and chief cosmetic chemist of Nweki. Nweki is an innovative skincare brand for people of color. We focus on combining traditional African medicine with modern science to address the common skin disorders that you would see in skin of color. I've been doing cosmetic chemistry ever since undergrad, so that's about 17 years. My professor at Florida A&M University had his own cosmetic company, and he taught me pretty much everything that he knew. So it's a passion of mine, and I'm excited to talk about the importance of diversity in beauty. Thank you for having me.
And thank you for joining, Eunice, and obviously all the rest of the panelists here. You guys have been so generous with your time for these live chats every week. Cassandra, would you like to go next?
Sure, my name is Cassandra Celesman. I'm the beauty chemist, owner of Beauty Alchemy Group, a laboratory that a lab and salon that I that I've had for several years in skincare. I'm also a dermatologist as well as trichologist and a cosmetic chemist. I've been in this industry 15 years, and I love everything about beauty, and I'm glad to be on the platform with such amazing.
Lalita, would you like to go next? And also, just so everyone knows, Esther is coming. She's just running 5 minutes late. So stay tuned. She'll be here.
Hey everyone, my name is Lalita Iyer. I'm also a cosmetic chemist focusing on skincare. I also do a lot of SciComm content on Instagram, and I go by Skin Chemi. So lovely to see everyone here today.
And Cynthia?
Hey everyone, I'm Cynthia Johnson, founder and CEO of Cindy J Cosmetic Labs, LLC. I'm a cosmetic chemist and I help small businesses, indie brands, startup businesses with their own custom formulation product. Could be hair care or skincare. And Jen, thank you so much for holding this today.
Okay, so I guess, now I will just ask my next question, and then hopefully it works for Esther when she comes back, and then she can introduce herself. Okay, so my first question for you guys, and also just so the audience knows, if you guys have any questions that you'd like to contribute to the conversation or comments, feel free to raise your hand and I can bring you to the stage. If you don't want to talk, you can also leave your questions or comments in the webinar chat text channel, and then I'll be able to read them aloud. But my question to you guys is, where do you think that we're at this point with diversity in the beauty space, especially how we've maybe evolved over the last, since you've been in the industry? Cassandra, would you like to go first for this question?
Sure. Been in this industry for a while, and feel like a lot more people aware of cosmetic chemist is, as far as like within that sector of the beauty industry. And a lot more people are looking into pursuing careers in that sector, and especially women as well. So I think we've come a long way since I started in 2000s. So but at the same time, as posted before, there's still gatekeepers within that industry, and I feel that even though we've expanded as far as people knowing what we do and being inspired to also become a cosmetic chemist, I feel that we still have a long way to go.
Cynthia, oh, actually, Esther, can you hear me?
Yes. Oh my
Oh my
God.
gosh.
Yes. Oh my God. I hate this update. Like, okay, I figured it out. Okay. Sorry about that.
You'll have to share your secrets after this conversation. Okay.
Yeah, I will.
My question to you is, can you introduce yourself? And I don't know if you heard my first question. If you didn't, I can repeat it.
I didn't hear the first question.
Okay. So can you introduce yourself and then also couple that on with the first question, which was, where do you think we're at this point in the beauty industry? You could focus it just we're all in like cosmetic chemistry or wherever you want, really. Where are we at with diversity, and have you seen any kind of shifts in your career so far, or your time in the industry, or even during your education?
So first of all, hi everybody. My name is Esther Olu. I am a cosmetic formulation chemist amongst everybody here. And I also do some science communication on social media at the Melanin Chemist. And to answer the question, so as of right now, I feel like there's shifts kind of to be more inclusive in the industry, but I feel like right now it's a little bit disingenuous with everything that happened last year with the Black Lives Matter protests, and this year with the Stop Asian Hate, and now there's like Pride Month going on. I just feel like the industry is really just trying to ride on trends and kind of exploit people of color. It's like they're kind of being inclusive in a sense, but I just like I said, I don't feel like it's genuine. So while I feel like it might be a step forward, I do think that it's also a couple of steps backwards. And what I'm also noticing, I guess, like through my schooling, and is that there's more people of color pursuing STEM. And I would say that for some schools, they would kind of discourage people of color for pursuing like harder majors like medicine or biology, chemistry, etc., because they didn't think that we were capable of or smart enough to pursue those educations. But it seems to me, in like my eyes, it seems that people are breaking barriers and they're breaking stereotypes to improve the industry, not just the beauty industry, but each industry. So I think there are definitely some shifts, but we can always do a lot better.
Eunice, would you like to go next?
Yeah, I think when I started back in the late 90s, it definitely was primarily white male that were in the industry. I would attend conferences to try to get connected with folks in the industry so that, while I was an undergrad, so that I can get a position at one of the major beauty companies. And it was very, very challenging. I probably only met one chemist or formulator at the conferences that I attended. I was typically the only Black person there. I think it is starting to change, because now more and more, especially, Black women, are, gaining an interest in, beauty and what's, behind creating the beauty products. And so I do see that it's changing a bit, but it's still, white male dominated, um, in the organizations, in academia, in research, even, at the corporate level. So there's still more work that needs to be done.
Lalita, what do you think?
I definitely agree with what everyone said. I think on one hand, it's, we see that the industry is taking steps towards, more diversity and inclusion, but it's kind of also disappointing to learn that, it took Fenty skin with 40 different shades to actually get the beauty industry to care, right? Why did it take, until Fenty skin for the beauty industry to care? Why wasn't it before that? And that's kind of how I feel. And I also think that it's important to look at the behind the scenes situation at any company. Very often I've seen, ad campaigns and marketing promotions and product promotions and all of this with women of color, but sometimes I'm like, well, what is behind that? Who, are there women of color in the lab and R&D? Are there women of color making, financial decisions and stuff like that? So I think, what we see on social media, is that really if a company says, we're taking so and so steps towards making our company more diverse, they show all these product promotions with women of color, men of color, but really what's happening behind the scenes is something that I would love to know, and hopefully we see more of moving forward. So I think bottom line, there's still a lot of work to do.
And last but not least, Cynthia?
So when I landed my first job back in 2015 as a chemist, after school, I thought I was going to see actually more white chemists, more white male chemists, but I actually saw a Black male chemist, and I thought to myself like, oh wow, this is strange, but it's good because now, I have someone that I can kind of relate to. And, we can help each other with different things. And then when I landed my second job, of course, there was nothing but Black female chemists, and Cassandra was one of them. And that's how I met Cassandra. And it wasn't just the formulation side, it was also quality. It was also micro. I was overjoyed by it. But then once I went to these conferences, you didn't see that anymore. You only saw the white male or even white female chemists, sales, whatever the case may be. That's what you saw at these conferences. So I knew that there still needed to be a shift, but I knew there was progress because of the jobs that I landed here in Maryland, where there was, people of color in the laboratory. But then I started to think beyond that. What about the CEO of the company? What about the president, the vice president? What do they look like? And of course, it was white male. So when I think about beauty and diversity, I don't really think so much about formulation. I always think about, like everyone else said, who is behind the brand, or who is behind the business? Who is the CEO? Who is the president? What is the percentages, from your female to male, or from your person of color to white? So I think that was kind of like the biggest issue for me when it came to the diversity.
I want to chime in on what was said before concerning Fenty Beauty. What I want to say is I want to dispel the myth that Fenty was the first brand to come out with 40 shades for Black skin. There was a brand, and it's still out there, Iman, who is a former supermodel, who came out with foundations in the late 1990s. Actually, I was a student, college student then. And a Black woman who realized that that when she would go on these model calls, the makeup artist couldn't match her skin with the foundation. So she created her own brand, and she initially started out in J.C. Penney's. It started out well, and then she in Sears, and then she left from those and went on to being a drugstore brand. But the problem, behind that is it was a Black woman that did it. When you look at Fenty, Fenty is owned by Sephora, white males who have capital and money to be able to push out the Fenty brand to say that, oh, okay, we have 40 shades, we're the first to do it. And they're not. There have been many other Black brands that have done this. They just never got the notoriety. They didn't have the capital to push for marketing so that people can have a greater awareness that they were there. And so a lot of these brands either went defunct or they, have struggled over the years to continue. And so they had to cut back on a lot of those shades that they initially had.
Yeah, and I think Esther brought up a interesting point, which I think I would tend to agree with, especially seeing some things that happen on Twitter as of late. Um, some of the progress looking good, I guess, on paper, but being at the end of the day disingenuous. Uh, I would wonder if anyone else agrees with that statement or has anything else to add, because I thought that was an interesting point to highlight from what Esther said. Anyone before I ask my next question? Which is, so what do you think are some of the barriers in the way of increasing diversity for the better in the cosmetics industry? Cynthia, would you like to start for this one?
I'm sorry, can you say it one more time, Jen?
What do you think are some of the barriers in the way for diversity in the cosmetics industry?
I would definitely say pride and ego is such a huge thing, a huge barrier that it seems like it's not broken down yet. Because, when you have younger chemists and aspiring chemists that are looking for role models and that are looking, of course, people that had that experience, the 20 years of experience, 10 years of experience, whatever the case may be, it seems like that pride and that ego just gets in the way of helping our aspiring chemists. It's always, oh, if I help them out, they may be bigger than me. But with the case, like, you should be giving back regardless, because we want to continue this legacy of cosmetic chemistry. We want to continue this legacy of, aspiring chemists learning more and becoming more innovative. That's the purpose of giving back. And it seems like a lot of that barrier has just not been broken yet. So I think that definitely hinders the diversity part, of course.
Lalita, would you like to go next?
Yeah, I think one of the barriers that I've seen a couple of people's trying to start a skincare line or a makeup line is getting funding. And, I think in the whole venture capital space, you mostly only see a white male, as the investor who's looking to invest in makeup or skincare. And I think, I've also personally spoken to brand founders who have had a really, really difficult time getting funding because of their skin of color, women of color, men of color. And, that's something that I think it needs to change. And I have seen this over and over again. And I've seen a lot of brand founders come forward. I've even read interviews about how getting funding is one of the most difficult aspects of building a brand. And so I think that is one of the big barriers that I've personally seen.
So my thoughts on that is it's not going to change without the public pushing for it, because those VCs, they're not managing, most of them are not managing their own money, or they're not using their own money to invest. They're using public dollars from retirement funds and pension funds. And if you really look at, the city retirement, state retirement, even federal retirement pension plans and funds, the majority of the workers are African American. And when African American workers start saying, "Wait a minute, these funds that are being managed, our retirement funds, our pension funds, which are being managed by these VCs, we don't see them investing in our community and in businesses in our community. It's not going to change." But a part of that is the lack of awareness in our community to know that many of these funds that these VC managers, what they're managing are actually the dollars of Black public service workers. And until those workers realize that it's their money that's being managed by these VCs, and realize the power that they have to be able to demand, wait a minute, if you're not going to do this for us, we want to pull our money out of the pension and retirement plans. Then, we'll probably see a change. But until that, and most people don't know that that's what's really going on the back end.
I totally agree. I totally agree, Eunice. I think I think bringing awareness to this situation is really important, and not many people know that this is the reality of how venture capital works. And I think bringing awareness is a really important aspect that I hope someday it will change, but it's been like this for a really long time.
Cassandra, would you like to go? Oops. Cassandra, would you like to go next?
I, when I think about the cosmetic chemistry industry and personal care and the workforce, the 9 to 5 work for various manufacturers, Cynthia said it's always at the head, the CEO is always a white male, and of course, human resources in charge of hiring, and most of the time they make sure that they follow the rules. They look like they have a spectrum of different people working there. However, behind the scene, there's still like a low key type of gatekeeping where it's really hard for women and people of color to have that upward mobility in the workplace. I've seen so many people who have been promoted over someone of color or a woman and did not deserve to be promoted over that person. And it's just sad because they always want to keep a certain look, a certain hierarchy within that company. And Cynthia mentioned earlier with one of the factors that we both work at, we saw that a lot. We're the hierarchy, accused us and made us feel like, we matter, but at the end of the day, we really knew we didn't matter. And it's funny now because they are one of the people that are now trying to do diversity team building, where I feel like saying earlier, it's not real, it's not genuine. They're just doing it so that they're labeled because of the Black Lives movement, Black Lives Matter movement. So I feel like upward mobility is definitely a barrier for people of color and for women.
Esther, would you like to go next?
Yeah, amongst like what happened in like the past 24 hours and what happened with that I'm not gonna say names, but that one chemist that was like bullying Michelle and you, Jen. I think one of the barriers is that some chemists only want to be like the only chemist in the room, if that makes sense. Like they want to be the only person that gets like recognition, and they don't want to make room for new people. And I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's fair. I don't think that I'm not saying that older chemists don't have anything to offer, but they should allow newer chemists to also take up space. I mean, how can we learn if you don't allow new people to enter into these spaces, especially if we are closing or trying to gatekeep and saying that only certain people can do these things. I just think that that shouldn't be a barrier. And I know that there are still older chemists to this day that that think that way and think that you need to have degrees to formulate, or you need to have this many years of experience to be considered like to be thought of highly and so on and so forth. So I think at least in my opinion that's also like a big barrier. And I know Cynthia was saying earlier about how it's like ego, and I think that's also like a really huge part of that too.
I want to add to that, Esther, also. Senior chemist, senior principal. I don't know what she was. Cynthia, you remember. Whatever title. As soon as I came in, she wanted a title higher than me because she felt threatened. She felt threatened by
chemist.
Right. Yeah, she felt threatened by everybody that came in. And she hated the fact that I would help the other chemists that came in and show them how to formulate hair color, which is very difficult. And she even pulled me to the side and told me, hey, don't show them how to formulate because they're going to take the jobs and they're going to less. And I'm like, no, they need to learn. We're here to learn and formulating hair color here. So they need to learn how to do it. And, she basically made an enemy out of me because I wanted to show people how to formulate hair color. And she was threatened and always threatened. And it's funny because I met another chemist at another manufacturer a few months ago when I was going on site to visit this manufacturing place for a client. And she's also part of that, generation. And she also told me, I don't tell the chemists here under me exactly what I'm doing because they don't need to know, they don't understand, and I don't want them to know what I'm doing, my job, because they'll pay them less money and get rid of me. So I think it's also a thing about how and thinking that someone younger comes in that they're going to pay them less and they're going to take all the jobs away from the old people, and I think they feel threatened.
And it's crazy because Cassandra, she was a woman of color. That's the crazy part. We've already have been struggling to even get to where we are, and we should be sticking together and coming together and bring those innovative ideas of how we can get ahead. And you're always going to have a crab in a barrel to bring you down. And it was just crazy to me that she was a person of color as well.
Eunice, I know you already commented, but do you have anything to add from your perspective here?
Yeah, for me, it was quite challenging. I was never able to get a job in industry. I applied and applied and applied, and even connected with folks to get some assistance with that, and it just never worked for me in that way. And so I basically said, well, I'm not going to wait on someone to give me an opportunity. I'm going to create the opportunity myself. I, just believe in myself and I'm smart, and what I don't know, I'm willing to learn. So that's what really, part of what really pushed me to start my own company and really, just focus in on that instead of trying to get a position in industry.
Something that I hear a lot, and I would be interested if you guys have had similar experience, and I feel like some of you definitely, especially after recent interactions on social media as of late. Um, there are some scientists online that just discredit people if, yeah, they don't have years of experience. That I've heard someone even go so far to say if you don't have years of experience working as a cosmetic chemist, even if you went to school, did a master's, whatever, you shouldn't call yourself a cosmetic chemist. Like something so bold to think that you need a certain amount of years of experience to be credible. And I know, Esther, this was kind of along the lines of what recently happened on Twitter. So I'd be interested if this, you guys have kind of talked about this already, but if this is something that you've experienced and something that, I don't know, got in your way for the succeeding or in any way impacted you.
I've never had that happen to me. But I will say that I can understand certain people's viewpoint because now we're in an age where everyone is popping up and saying they're a cosmetic chemist. And when you dig deep, you really see that they don't even have a chemistry degree. They don't have any training. They haven't even worked for a company. Like there's absolutely nothing. So I can see where some people would say, well, I want to, sort of delineate myself from those folks who are saying they're cosmetic chemists but don't have experience or, other things. Because some of those people are giving actual cosmetic chemists a bad name because you have companies or startups that are going to them for formulation services and they're not doing a great job because they don't have the knowledge base or the training to do what we do. And so, I mean, I can understand that, but I also feel that um, it doesn't take 20 years to be a cosmetic chemist. I feel like, if you get, some people have gotten training on the job, some people have gotten training through academia. And I just feel like that it, it's not about the number of years that makes you a cosmetic chemist. It's about the work that you actually put in to be it, and then your ability to take that knowledge and actually translate it into creating something.
Anyone else want to chime in? I won't ask you guys individually just in case you don't, but if you do, then now's your chance.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I
Joe, what was the question
oh,
again? I'm sorry.
You want me to ask the question again? Is that
Yes, please.
Oh yeah. Yeah, if you've ever had this experience from older people, I guess, in the industry, and I see this as gatekeeping personally,
Mm-hmm.
and this has happened to me a few times. But anyways, and I know it's recently happened to Esther. People with more experience belittling you as if you have no knowledge to share and trying to kind of just shut you down before you even start, because you lack the 20 plus years of experience that they have. I don't know if this has gotten, yeah, has this happened to you? Someone belittling your experience for whatever reason.
I think you know, like when I started in the industry, um not social media, but Facebook was around. But as far as like the platform, social media, period, Twitter and Instagram, that wasn't around. So now we have these channels where people are very accessible and they can say whatever and fight back. And to me, you know, in the 2000s, like that was like, if I did experience that, and I did, it wasn't anything that was like on a social media platform. It was within the job place or the industry. And to be honest, it was harder because I didn't have a voice because I am a Black. And when you're starting in your 20s and you're Black, you know, you have a platform like, you know, Instagram and Twitter, and it's hard because no one is really listening to you. So it was a little challenging, but um, as a, you know, New Yorker, I through it. You know, people didn't like to say, but I had to say it. And, you know, a lot of times with employers, you know, they wanted their way or the highway. Sometimes I chose the highway. That's how I, you know, started my own business because, you know, I'm here to change the industry or help the industry. I'm not here to go by, you know, the politics that they go by. I mean, I remember working at a place where, you know, people will walk by you in the hallway and you would say hello to them. They wouldn't even say hi to you. Like you were nothing. Like the VPs and everything, group leaders, everything, like good morning. And they would just not even talk to you like you didn't exist. And it was just horrible. And sometimes I went home crying, but it, you know, gave me thick skin. So it was somewhat intimidating. And I feel like this lady that was bullying, you know, Esther is part of that group because she says she has 20 years experience. So she probably also experienced this type of treatment when she first started in the industry and just feels that, you know, gatekeeping is the way to keep this industry a certain way. Like, you know, Eunice was saying, like, if you don't have this experience, that experience, then, you know, we kind of have to keep it guarded because you may give us a bad rep. But she totally went about it the wrong way and definitely chose the wrong person.
Yeah, I definitely agree with both Cass and Cassandra and Eunice, especially when Eunice pointed out that there are some people that call themselves cosmetic chemists and there's no experience, there's no schooling or education, or even the education is coming from a school who's only just trying to accept your money and not really teach you cosmetic chemistry. So now you're a cosmetic formulator or a cosmetic chemist. But like Cass said, it's all about how you approach someone. You know, you are not, yes, you have 20 years of experience. That's great. So why don't you teach people? You know, why don't you, you know, you say you have all these accolades, show it. Show what kind of mentorship you've been doing. Because now I'm looking at you like, okay, now you're attacking me and we're in the same boat. We're in the same industry. So it's all about how you talk to people. And Cassandra, you're definitely right. This young lady or lady has been in the industry for a very long time. So she was probably a part of that group that, you know, felt like she was above everyone and she can say whatever she wants.
Also, I want to add from what Cynthia just said about the courses that formulators take, and that, you know, sometimes they just want to take your money and they're not being taught correctly. Um, this is, I feel like, an issue because I'm getting a lot of uh, people who are coming to me that have taken these courses and felt like they could become formulators and formulate their own products. And I know, Cynthia, you've been through this too. And they're like, can't be it's an issue too. It's not just, these people who want to be formulators. There's nothing wrong with that. But then they're not even taught correctly how to formulate, because there are companies out there that just want to make money.
I just want to say yes. She messed with the wrong person. I am not the one to be messed with. Like, I really am not the person to be messed with. And I'm honestly really grateful that that this happened. And I know that other people have experienced what I experienced, and I'm glad that I spoke up about it. And this also caused other people to talk about their experiences, and it was kind of like a catalyst, and it caused people to start speaking up more. I think this definitely opened up a really great conversation with how behind the industry is. So yeah, this was definitely a lesson learned.
So I guess my final question to you guys, do you have any suggestions for the industry to move forward in a positive direction with respect to diversity? Lalita, would you like to go first for this one?
Yeah, I think, you know, we definitely need more transparency from different brands. I think a lot of the times all we see is, you know, ad campaigns like I mentioned earlier, and marketing campaigns, and it seems like, you know, they just tick off their diversity box, but there's just so much more to it that consumers need to be made aware of at the corporate level, decision making level, et cetera. So I think we need a lot more transparency when it comes to really understanding, you know, is a company or is an organization being diverse, and those are my thoughts on that. And I think we still have a long way to go.
Esther, would you like to go next?
I would really just say be willing to hear a perspective that's different from yours. And like Lalita was saying, I think inclusivity matters. I think this is how conversations start, and how we're able to move forward instead of backwards.
Cynthia, would you like to go next?
Yeah, in order to even talk about diversity or inclusion or anything like that, the people have to step up and say what's wrong. You know, I at my old job, I saw that there was a lot of racism going on, a lot of favoritism. Um, it was just a lot going on, and I was one of the managers, and I actually stepped up and told all of the managers of what we need to do. You got to have people that are willing to risk, you know, maybe their job or a cut or whatever the case may be to get change. You know, we can come up with all the activities, we can come up with, you know, any kind of mindset change, whatever the case may be, but people have to step up and actually speak and say, this is what's wrong. You know, we can't hide behind our cell phones. We can't hide behind the computers. If you work in a company and you're just working day by day and you're complaining all the time about how you feel like there's racism or whatever the case may be in the job force, say something. Now it's time to step up and call people out, call managers out, call the CEO out. You have to start calling people out. So it definitely starts with the people before we can even, you know, talk about the different changes.
Cassandra, would you like to go next?
I agree with Cynthia. At the same time, when you stand up for yourself and call people out, you have to remember about the backlash will come with that, and be prepared for that, and have that in, because this is still an issue, and it's not going to go away right away, and you know, it's still kind of fresh. So, you know, a lot of these companies are, you know, they have diversity team building groups, and they're trying to change. They seem like they're trying to change. So on the surface. However, internally, where does the culture of the company really lies? Are they changing the culture of the company? Because even at the last manufacturer, um, you know, you know, treated even though Cynthia and I, experienced some type of, you could see the racism there and the favoritism at the same time. Um, that why they were treated even worse because of whether color or their gender. I think something we as people in the front end, cosmetic chemists, as we get up there in titles and our titles, that we need to start saying something to represent the people that don't have it, that are mistreated in the world.
And last but not least, Eunice.
Yeah, I agree with everyone's saying. I think that we folks just have to start speaking up when they see something wrong, call it out. And yeah, there may be some repercussions. I mean, I've experienced that in academia where, I saw some things that I didn't like and I spoke up about it. And I did experience backlash from it. But to me, it was worth it because it was the thing to push me to go into the full-time entrepreneurship. And then later on down the road, that case actually became a precedent to help another Black woman um, in her situation. And so we just have to, be bold and stand up and just call a spade, and not be afraid to put people on blast for being racist.
Well, I guess this concludes our conversation. We've been now talking for an hour. I hope you guys have enjoyed it as much as I did. Thank you, you guys, for coming back so frequently on this platform to have these conversations. And yeah, this conversation will be published tomorrow, probably, on our YouTube notes channel. So if you missed any part of this conversation or also want to share, then I'll be posting the conversation in the webinar text channel. I hope you guys have a great rest of your night, and thank you guys. Thank you guys for agreeing to come back to have this conversation on the platform.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks everyone for showing up.